Hello, it's Cynthia again. I was thinking in this section that I'd talk about some of the important people that settled in the area now known as Miami in the mid-1800s into the late 1800s. So here at the museum we refer to this as the pioneer section, and most people identify the word pioneer with the first to do something. But we understand, of course, that the European American settlers who were coming into South Florida or who were moving out west weren't really the first. There were a lot of Native Americans already there. But we can call these folks pioneers in that they were the first ones maybe from their family to move out this way. So some of the key pioneers in the neighborhood known as Coconut Grove would be, for example, Ralph Monroe. So we have a picture of him right over here. And he's the gentleman who built the Barnacle, which is again in Coconut Grove. If you haven't been, it's beautiful, it's well worth the visit. We like to joke that he actually was one of the first people to ever do selfies, because if you look in his hand, he's got some kind of clicker, and he was pretty well known for setting up his camera at a distance and rigging it so that he could take a picture from that distance. We also have in this picture, this lady right here, this is Flora McFarland. She's the first teacher in what is now Miami-Dade County. And then we also have some Bahamian immigrants who were settling in this area in the late 1800s. We've got some pictures of them. Here they are, probably getting together for a party of some kind. And it's actually on the property of the Barnacle that Ralph Monroe built. And one lady in particular that I'd like to highlight who lived in the West Grove, which was the historically black Bahamian community, her name was Mariah Brown. She was one of the first Bahamian immigrants on record. She actually moved to Key West first and worked in a hotel, cleaning, cooking, that sort of thing. And eventually Charles Peacock, the owner of the Peacock Inn in Coconut Grove, met her in Key West and invited her to come and work at the Peacock Inn that he and his wife Isabella were running. Mrs. Peacock, Isabella Peacock, was from the same island as Mrs. Brown, so there's a chance that they actually knew each other back on Eleuthera in the Bahamas, but can't say for sure. We have a picture that shows two Bahamian ladies, one of whom may be Mrs. Brown. It's unclear, though, if one of these two ladies is Mrs. Brown. And the other really interesting thing about her is that she was actually a landowner, which in the late 1800s, to be a woman and to be a landowner was a big deal, but to be a woman of color and to be a landowner was an even bigger deal. And then another female landowner in this area that we can't forget about is actually the mother of Miami. Her name was Julia Tuttle. So we're gonna look at her pictures right up here. And she gets the credit as being the mother of Miami, the only woman to found a major metropolitan area in this country. And it was her brilliant plan and the work of her and others like her who convinced Henry Flagler to go ahead and finish that railroad that he was already building down here. But they offered up half of their land and a lot of money and other incentives to get him to do that. And so we can thank them and the folks who lived in the West Grove who did all the work in this area for actually building Miami.